What is going on, everybody? It has been a while, but welcome back inside the Madness Quarantined Edition. Jessica Town is here. I am Rob Lange. Sports are coming back, therefore I think it's time for us to come back. But before we begin, Jess, life with Nola and quarantine, how's it going?
It's good. We had to get a bigger apartment because our other one was too small because our dog grows every hour. But we're now in a little bit bigger apartment, which is nice, and we have lots of space, and she's loving running around, but she's so good. She actually adjusted to, I thought I was worried about like potty training her and then moving her to a new apartment because she was just figuring out, like, I go to the door, I scratch at the door when I have to go outside. But she actually learned pretty well. Only one accident in the house, and other than that, we've been good, and just continuing to do our part to stay inside and social distance. And the puppy has absolutely kept us entertained, and she's our little guard dog. If she hears something outside the door, she makes sure that
Yes.
it's safe. No one needs to know how tiny and cute she is. That bark will scare anybody away.
Hey, it's amazing how dogs have opened up to that. That's what my Emma does that now too. Every time someone's walking in the street, as she sees them, the growling starts, the barking starts. Meanwhile, if the person ever came to the door, she would lick the hand of that person and love him because that's what she does.
Yes.
So as always, we're brought to you by The Painted Lines. You can follow us on the YouTube channel at The Painted Lines. That's where most of our shows have been. We will start stripping audio again and getting them back to the podcast form. We are going to kind of rebrand ourselves, I think, a little bit. We have to have a meeting, Jess, and figure all this out. We're going to start live streaming again using the StreamYard service that was purchased by The Painted Lines and my co-host over on Party on Broad, Mr. Crockpot. So we'll be coming to you, I think, at more of a scheduled time once we can figure this out, figure out our lives a little bit here.
But right now, get a little bit more normal.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't expect any normalcy anytime soon. No. So we have to just take a little normalcy and say, okay, that's enough. Now we move forward. So speaking of normalcy, we are going to get sports back. It kind of, sort of,
hopefully.
I do believe, and we'll start here, I believe baseball is going to play. I believe baseball is, for once, they did everything wrong the whole time, but I think letting teams stay in their home parks, keeping travel to just okay, all the East Coast teams are going to play each other, all the West Coast teams are going to play each other. I do think baseball is going to get started. The spring training started yesterday with our favorite son, Bryce Harper, basically making his public statement to Matt Klentak, stop being a jackass and sign JT Realmuto now by wearing a jersey. It was awesome.
Yeah, I'm cautiously hopeful about sports, and I think the best way to explain why I'm not completely confident, I think, is when you kind of look at, kind of jumping around sports a little bit. I think you're right. Baseball has the best chance of returning. My one kind of the red flag to me is obviously, so last week was when all the NBA players got tested, and certain players came out and said, yes, I have tested positive. Others, just the team just announced, this many people, whatever. Obviously, DeAndre Jordan tested positive. Spencer Dinwiddie is one of the few that tested positive, but also has symptoms, is, really sick. But then there were a couple players on the Kings that tested positive. And then, the next day after it was announced that Jabari Parker tested positive, he was seen out in public playing tennis with no mask on. So, just completely violating everything that was supposed to be done at that point in time upon, finding out that your test is positive. Now, things like that, obviously, it's an interesting kind of, question. I don't know if you saw Kemba Walker's quote yesterday that he was like, I'm a single guy with no kids. All I do is stay inside. And basically, so for him, it's like, yeah, I'll bring my Xbox or whatever with me to Orlando. And when I'm not playing or in a meeting, I will sit and play video games, and that'll be the end of that.
Right.
Fine. But it's some of these other guys that, you know, are married or have kids. And it's kind of like, what are we going to do? Are you, you know, how, I mean, yes, if they choose to play, if they choose to be a part of the restart, you know, they're signing up for the isolation and that kind of thing. I don't know what the different policies are on bringing family members, having your kids. Like, I don't know. But same with, you know, something like, you know, Zach Wheeler's wife is due like any day. Like, she's like ready to explode pregnant. And you know, he's not going to miss the birth of his child, and he shouldn't. But then he does have to go through another, you know, 14-day isolation. But it's also like, you know, will he choose to do that right away? Because, you know, usually it's like, yeah, like Bryce Harper took 2 days off last year when his wife had their baby, but he was able to like come back, but then like also see his baby and see his wife and like it'd be fine. Yeah. So my, you know, that was kind of jumping all over. So to round that out, my biggest concern is people who think, oh, this will be fine. Or, oh, it's just my wife. Or the simplest thing is like Jabari Parker testing positive and then being out and about with no mask on. It's like, if this is how the players are going to act leading up to it, they're not going to stop once they're in it. And it's just going to explode again. And then everything's going to have to be shut down. So it's one of those things that like, it's up to all of them. They can all choose not to be a part of it. They have that decision. It's right in front of them. But if they choose to be a part of it, you have to go all in for everything that's required. And if they don't, that's when it's going to go downhill. So I'm not sure. That's where I'm kind of cautious about being excited, and I'm hopeful. Like soccer is supposed to start. Women's soccer has already started. Men's soccer is supposed to start next week. Also, you know, in a bubble in Orlando, essentially. But you know, I'm not sure. And I think, you know, we've seen different parts of the world that they've been successful in some of these things. But you know, it's going to take, but it's, you know, if you look at the United States as the whole thing is like, it just, all it takes to help this thing go away is everyone just kind of buying into it and the commitment from everybody. Right. And as you can see, that's not happening. And it's happened.
And it's happened in the other areas of the world, which is why the sports are working, which is why if you watch, and like I've watched some of the Premier League soccer lately, and there's no stands. I love what they're doing. They're actually like funneling in noise, so it actually sounds like it's a full stadium. But it's working because those countries bought in, you know, way better than we have as a country. And you said it. The athletes have to make the decision. If we're going to do this, we have to be all in, because the worst possible thing, and something that will annoy me, is if these leagues start back up and then have to shut down because it's not working. Like you've seen that the bubble can work when it's done the proper way.
Right.
So a guy like Jabari Parker, like honestly, what the NBA should do, and I don't think they will because it's such a weird time, is say you're not playing because you're not taking this serious. You're being an idiot. You know what I mean? And like those guys have to go. Like, I'm sorry. I don't care if you're LeBron James or you're Ryan Brokoff on the Sixers. If you cannot take this serious, you can't be involved, because you're going to put so many people in harm's way, and not just other players on the floor, but coaches, team personnel, people that are of that older generation who this does seem to affect worse, although young people are starting to get hit at alarming rates right now as well.
Young people are stupid.
Well, yeah, young people are really stupid. I saw something today about Alabama students having COVID-19 parties to see who could get the virus first. Like, seriously.
Awesome.
Yeah. Great work by our country in that regard. But regardless, I'll be honest with you. And part of it is probably from a standpoint that my life has been very stress-free without sports. I haven't had to defend Brett Brown. I haven't had to get mad at Matt Klentak for not getting more pitching. Like, I haven't had to think of any of this stuff. But I've literally just watched Netflix and every streaming service. All I can think about for the last week is tonight at midnight is I'm hoping that Disney Plus drops Hamilton at midnight, and I'll just watch it tonight for the first time.
Are you going to watch Hamilton at midnight? Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I thought you had.
But I'm telling you right now, between tomorrow and Sunday, if I don't watch Hamilton like 5 or 6 times, I'm going to be upset at myself for that. Like, I have been so excited for this. It's one of the 3 things that come out of quarantine for me.
I'm unbelievably excited about it. My parents, so their plan for football season is, depending on what happens with like season tickets, because they're the way they're splitting it up, they, it's like a kind of it's like there's like splitting it in half between season ticket holders. So they're all like the parties aren't next to each other, so you can social. That's what the Eagles are planning to do as of right now. But they're also not totally sure what's going on. So if we can't go to games, my parents bought a projector and they have a barn. So we're going to put it on the side of the barn and just like sit outside in the grass. Like we can still be outside and in the elements like a regular Eagles game, unless it's raining. I will not be sitting outside in the rain if I don't have to. But so the projector just came in. My mom's like, we might just watch Hamilton on the projector outside.
I bought a projector and a screen about a month and a half ago, and we've watched a couple shows outside, and I did it thinking like, okay, when I don't go to games, not really thinking pandemic wise, but when I don't go to games, it'll be fun on a 1:00 game. Once I get live TV out there and all that, to watch the games out there. But now with all this, and to be honest with you, I know the NFL is talking about making fans sign a waiver if they're going to sit in the stadium. I'll be honest with you. I love going to games. I'm not going until I feel safe. Like, I'll be totally fine watching 16 games and doing what you just did, having tailgates in the driveway, setting up a projector and just watching it outside the helmets. I think that would be a fun way to handle a negative situation that we're in.
Yeah, for sure. So, but Hamilton.
Anyway.
Exactly it.
Right.
I'm with you there. Because we went this winter to see it, but Sophie had field hockey and Joe had to coach a basketball game. So Sophie and Joe didn't get to come with us to see it, so they haven't seen it yet.
Cast, and it's the original cast. Like, as much as I loved seeing it in Philly, like I loved everything about it. See, I've always wanted, like, I've listened to the original cast on the soundtrack for 5 years. You know what I mean? So to be able to watch them, like, I'll be honest, one of my students actually bought me on the streets of New York a bootlegged copy of and I was like, I don't want to watch it this way. Like, I feel like I'm cheating Lin-Manuel Miranda. Like, I'm not going to do it. So I have literally had this DVD for years and just haven't watched it. Just sitting there.
I think what's exciting about this, though, is, like, I don't know if the DVD was the same, but, like, this is, like, filmed like a movie. So all the different angles that it's not just like a regular show where you just have a camera sitting in the front. It's all, like, you can see their expressions, the different, like, movements in which, I mean, as like a dancer, and I love watching how things move and the different choreography and how I just love that. I'm such a dork, but you can see it from all different angles, and I'm so excited to watch this again. It's so good.
Literally, the DVD I have was literally a man who went to see the show and, like, filmed it on his phone and then burned the DVD. Not very good. No, I mean, they filmed this over a 3 or 4 day period. Some with an audience there, some with no audience, so that they could do the close-ups and the movement shots. I know we have gone off on a tangent here, but you know what? It's quarantine, and that's what the hell we do.
Hamilton is that good. If you don't have Disney Plus, buy it just to watch Hamilton tomorrow.
You should be buying Disney Plus for no other reason than Hamilton at this point. I mean,
there are a lot of reasons, but Hamilton, number one.
Yeah. If you have kids too, by the way, and you don't have Disney Plus, I don't know how you've made it through quarantine. Don't know how you've made it through quarantine.
I wouldn't have made it through quarantine without Disney Plus for myself.
I am an expert on the show Jessie now because of quarantine, and big fan of it. Big fan of Jessie. Anyway, back to sports, because that's what we'll do here on the Madness is we'll talk about sports. Yes, I agree with you, Jess. I don't know what's going to happen. I think I have hope. Part of the reason I have hope for, say, the NBA is, as crazy as this sounds, I feel like, and we could start kind of talking about our teams here, I feel like a 8-game warm-up to the playoffs kind of plays into the Sixers' hands a little bit, as crazy as this sounds. As if you remember way back when to the season, it was not going well. It was not going the way that many of us had planned this season to go. But I think on a neutral court, the way the Sixers play, I think that they would be a tough out in a playoff series. Like, to beat them 4 times in this kind of setting, I think would be tough. Like, I could see the Sixers getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. Beating the Bucks, or excuse me, not beating the Celtics in the first round series, and then maybe having to play the Raptors in the second round, which I know that they haven't fared well against the Raptors. But once again, when you're talking about a 7-game series in the same location where you were forced to be with your team and only your team, right? One of the things we talked about the Sixers was they were not able to build chemistry. That's not going to be a problem right now. You're only going to be around these people. And I think if this team builds chemistry, as you've said, there is enough talent on this roster to go win. So.
Yeah. And so this might be an interesting conversation for us to have. So Joe and I were talking about this yesterday, and he kind of asked me, and I put it out actually on the Babes on Broad account this morning, because I think it's an interesting conversation to have. Of the teams in the restart, so just the 22 teams, who do you think are the most important players, or the top 10 best players that mean the most to their team? And by that, I mean, like, obviously, like, you get top 10 best players. Like, of course, you're going to put, like, someone like Paul George in there. But in terms of, you have to be at your highest level of play for your team to have any sort of success. For your team to be successful, who are your top 10 players that are most important to their team? So I'll give you mine, and I'll give you my explanations. And then, so to kind of give you so my top 10 most important to their team for them to get anywhere, in no particular order: LeBron, Kawhi, Giannis, Luka, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Ben, Joel, Jokic, and Dame. Those are my 10 that, if they do not play at their best level, the team is not going to be successful. If LeBron plays like crap, obviously they're not going to be successful. So there are guys like, could you put AD in there? If he plays like crap, they're still, like, that's not going to make or break the Lakers. You know what I mean? If somebody like, Jimmy Butler, is he going to make or break it? Probably not. You could put Kemba in there. Have you ever seen, can Kemba put the team on his back and will them to a win? Probably not. So I think about, people are going to say I'm biased because of the Ben and Joel thing, but it's like, okay, if Ben Simmons decides to take over a game, we've seen multiple times where he's had 3-4 steals and, 6 to 8 points in the final 90 seconds of a game to put it away. The one against Indiana right around Thanksgiving is the first one that comes to mind. He can take over a game and dominate. Same with Joel Embiid. And I think someone like Jokic, like, he's asked to do such a specific thing that he doesn't play at his highest level. The team's not going to be as successful as they could be. Same thing with Damian Lillard. His defense, but he can just start pulling from anywhere and do what he wants. Same with a guy like Luka. Kawhi, obviously. And somebody who could be, the one that might be a question mark is like a James Harden.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one in my head that I would maybe throw into the list. I'm just not sure who to take. The only guy that I would take somebody out from a team that I just don't expect to even get into the 16-team format.
Like a Bradley Beal or a Devin Booker.
Like a Bradley Beal or a Devin Booker. Because, look, we all know that they went to this 22-team format for one reason. They wanted more Zion, right? The NBA wanted more Zion Williamson. It's understandable. I get it. You want to make some money. But, James Harden is probably the one guy that I would throw in and maybe take out, say, a Bradley Beal, because I just don't think it's going to matter in the long run for the Wizards. Because I just,
So let me ask you this question. Here's my question for you. Do you firmly believe, without a doubt, that if the Rockets, if it comes to the Rockets and they are in a crucial need to win situation and James Harden tries to take over the game, are you 100% confident that he will be successful in that? Because the only reason I don't have James Harden in there is because if he's in that situation, he makes that decision that he has to take over this game. Right. He's just going to start dribbling around, pulling ridiculous shots, and there's a 50-50 shot that he goes off or bricks everything and torpedoes his team's chances of winning right in that situation.
Yeah, it's
and
fair.
Russell Westbrook is the exact same.
Yes.
So you have two of them on the same team, which
agree.
Is why I don't have James Harden in my top 10.
I totally agree with what you said. I guess my point is I don't have 100% confidence in a Bradley Beal. Like LeBron James, when he gets that look in his eye that he had back in Game 6 against the Celtics when he was in the Miami Heat, and he kind of was bent, like the meme goes out when he kind of looks up and has that glare, and you go, uh-oh. Yeah, like that. That's, you know what I mean? But no, I think this is pretty good, though. And it is a good question. And the key thing that you have here is when you add a Ben Simmons to the list, as you have, which I totally agree with, you have a healthy Ben Simmons. Brett Brown said yesterday, he's good to go. You have Joel rested. Now, Joel rested sometimes is a catch-22. Like, yeah, it's good that he's rested, but we've seen Joel come back from being rested and be, like, so rested he's out of shape. I hope that's not the case.
Brett Brown said nobody's put in as much work as Joel Embiid. And he's in the best shape as he's ever seen him.
Yeah, and
how much stock do you put in that?
And I was going to say, sounds great on paper. You read it, it's a great sound. But I've said this before with Joel, and I'll say it again. I love the guy, but I got to see it on the court in games that matter. I can't have any stomach issues popping up in the playoffs. I can't have any not running. I can't have any throwing the arms up, all that. I need, because if they both are on, they're as good as anybody without a doubt in the East.
I think Joel was in a bad headspace.
Yeah.
I think this might, more than anything, have helped Joel get back to where he needs to be. I think he needed to get his mind right, and I think obviously Ben was hurt and was going to miss playoffs without a doubt. He was not going to be – he was done. I think this could benefit the Sixers more than anything.
I agree 100%. The only fear for the Sixers that I have is what we've discussed, is that the meshing of these guys is just not a possibility. It sounded great in theory, but, you know, Al Horford really can't play with Joel and Ben, especially when he just isn't shooting as woeful as he's shooting. But I think he's got to go to the bench. Yes. I don't think – listen, you know me. I love Brett. I'm going to love Brett till the day they tell me he's fired, and I'm still going to love the man if he goes somewhere else. I do. I love Brett Brown. But I got to hope, as he sat back over since March and looked at things and saw the emergence of a kid like Shake Milton, that he says, okay, Shake and Ben, Joel, Tobias, and who the heck am I – who am I missing?
Josh Richardson.
Josh Richardson, yeah. So Josh Richardson kind of shifts to the 3. I know it's a little smaller than what you wanted, but I think it's better. And now you got guys like Milton. Milton can shoot, like, probably better than Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson's shot has been, like, I'll be honest with you, off season, I'm looking to unload a Josh Richardson. I like the guy, like his mentality, but I'm looking to unload him. I have a like thing that brings a smile on my face is Al Horford and Josh Richardson. They find ways to get stuff for them, but Buddy Hield becomes a Sixer. I'm like giddy over the idea of Buddy Hield being a Sixer, because that just I just want Buddy Hield to be a Sixer. I'm just gonna say it.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I haven't thought about anybody else that's not a current Sixer being a Sixer, and I will not think about it until this is done, because I truly believe the Sixers have as good a chance as any to do something with this.
part of the reason I jumped to that thought process was for the longest time, and like I said, I still have major doubts. I don't know if the NBA is going to resume. Like, I know they're saying they're going to resume, but like you said, you brought up all those reasons. I do have some nervousness about sports, especially the NBA, when, yes, it's a bubble in Orlando, but it's still Florida, and you have seen the state of Florida over the last month or so just be the debacle that they are. Like,
Florida's been a debacle for the last, 10 years.
Oh, I was going to say, we had a joking segment on this show for a 6-month span, a Florida man, and
I don't understand why. But here's the craziest thing to me. So think about it. So say everything restarts as it's supposed to, right? Everything goes as normal. You have, well, not normal, but as it's supposed to, and everything goes as planned. You have the World Series, the Stanley Cup Finals, and the NBA Finals all within a 2-week span in the middle of October.
And the Philadelphia teams are going to be in all of them.
Yes, exactly. But meanwhile, it's all week 8 of the NFL season. Yeah. So it's the finals, and you figure out who is the champion of all of these things. And then the NBA draft is October 16th. And then free agency opens in the middle of a football Sunday.
It's going to be you think that we've had crazy times before, like us in the podcast world are going to be losing it. We're going to have to do 2 shows a week just to talk about it.
It's going to be
wild. It's insane.
Madness.
It's absolutely insane. You know how Philly it would be. Do you know how Philly it would be?
For all 4 of the teams to win and no parades can be had? Yeah.
And for 3 of the teams to win so that all the Philadelphia haters out there could put an asterisk on our title. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm celebrating.
There's going to be there's going to be a reason for anybody who wins. There's going to be a reason to put an asterisk there. There's going to be a group of people. If LeBron wins, it's going to be oh, well, If Giannis wins, it's going to be oh, well, If the Celtics win, all of Philadelphia is going to be oh, well, Yeah. If any Philadelphia team wins, the entire world's going to explode.
I think I believe it's actually tougher to win in this environment. Your season just stopped. You were forced to just restart. You're talking about athletes that normally play the first half of the season, just getting themselves back, especially baseball. Think about baseball, right? This is going to be a track meet. This is going to be a 50-yard dash for them. 60 games. And I'm here for it because I've said for years,
excited.
I want baseball to be a shorter season. I just think it'll mean more. It may diminish, some of the play because some guys need to get back in the form and stuff like this. But I'm excited for me, I'm not a huge baseball guy, but the idea of a 60-game season is pretty damn exciting. It's pretty damn get ready for it, even if we're not going to games, but you're going to want to watch every game, more so than if there was 162. You're going to want to be in on every game.
Yeah, you're going to want to watch every game, and think about it, Andrew McCutchen wouldn't have been healthy for the season to start. Mm-hmm. Andrew McCutchen's ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
Just little things like that you're, who knows? There is more of this that seemingly works in Philadelphia's favor than for the 3 restarts.
Yeah.
For the 3 major restarts.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, for the Phillies concern, right, with obviously the new rule, the designated hitter, which thank God they needed to do this years ago. I'm glad it's here. Do the Phillies go with a guy on the roster, or do you go out and sign a guy like Yasiel Puig to come in and be your DH hitter?
I mean, if it was Yasiel Puig, I'm not going to be upset about it. Who would be upset about that? No. I wouldn't mind a guy like a Jay Bruce or who's already on the roster. I don't really.
Because I'll be honest with you, I would like to see them go out because I feel that the Phillies are going to have to win the games on offense because I still am not 100% behind their pitching. I know Aaron Nola is who he is.
I now have no choice but to firmly stand behind Aaron Nola for the rest of time. I literally named my dog after him.
Wait, well played by you. Now you're stuck. I hope to God for your sake he has a great year. But like Zach Miller's question mark, not just because of what you were talking about earlier with the birth of his child, but he's coming off of the Tommy John. Hasn't been the same since Tommy John surgery. So they're going to have to win offensively. So I want as much power in that lineup. And I love Jay Bruce as a bat off the bench that plays here and there. But the idea of like Yasiel Puig being an everyday designated hitter is super exciting to me.
Yeah, you don't hate that.
No. So I would love to see them do it. I don't know if this front office is the most inept front office in the city. I think that goes without saying.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just
like if John Middleton tells you that he allows the public to, he sees what the public's reaction is and his players' reaction is. From the public outcry and Bryce Harper's jersey, if JT Realmuto is not signed within the next 2 days, I don't know. I don't know what you're doing. Overpay him. Overpay.
I mean, like, it's the simplest thing is like he is the best catcher in baseball. And like Matt Klentak's like, oh, well, things have changed. No, he's still the best catcher in baseball. Nothing has changed since March. Stop it. Stop it.
Seriously, like they're making me hate them. They haven't even started playing yet. Like, like I want to watch the Phillies. I want to watch Joe Girardi manage. I want to watch Bryce Harper. I want to tell Rhys Hoskins to change his look because the picture they took of Rhys Hoskins yesterday with his hair and his mustache, and he looked ridiculous. I hope that goes away. I don't know if you saw that picture.
The mustache is bad. The mustache, and he does that every year. Every year we see the mustache, and every year it's just as bad as it was the previous year.
Jay McConnell tried to grow a mustache, and he looked ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember what I'm talking about.
There's some people that it's not for their face, and Rhys Hoskins is just. I love Rhys Hoskins, but it's just not.
Yeah.
Like Bryce Harper needs the beard forever. Like he can't not have that.
No, I can't look at him without a beard now. Can't do it.
Rhys should never. It's not great. There are some people in the world that just shouldn't, and I think he's one of them.
Well, let's
like the hair though.
Yeah.
I don't mind the hair. The Phillies. I don't know if it was the Phillies or someone else posted something that was like they're back, and like look at all the hair in Citizen Bank Park or something.
Just look at all the hair. Look, Jess, I didn't have this. Hair has come back. I'm actually gelling my hair now. I mean, things have changed. Look, quarantine is bad, but there are some positives for people that have come out, such as people that believe they couldn't grow hair anymore, like yours truly, who now will not shave his head again because he's excited to see hair on top of it.
My brother's lost 20 pounds in quarantine.
That's impressive. I've lost 12 and been happy about that 12. But 20 is impressive. 20 is where I'm trying to get to. And I got really close about 2 weeks ago. And then we went down the beach and I decided, I'm not going to diet and I'm just going to eat. And now I'm fighting my way back. This is the fight back.
He's lost 20 pounds and put on a ridiculous amount of muscle.
Well,
it's actually frightening.
I've seen your pictures, and part of me wants to reach out to him and say, can you just write me up a workout plan that
He has a fitness Instagram.
Yes.
He does, and my sister does. It's funny because he does, my sister does, and then my dad works out with them, and my mom works out with them as well, and then I'm just over here making cakes with 5 sticks of butter.
5 sticks of butter.
I did make a cake with 5 sticks of butter, and it was delicious.
Oh, I don't doubt the deliciousness of it whatsoever. 5 sticks of butter.
I'm just over here making excessive meals with lots of extra fat in them, and the rest of my family is, fitness, plant-based, doing all this stuff, and I'm just like.
Did your heart pause at all after the 5 sticks of butter cake?
No.
No, good for you.
No, it was just very happy. I ate the majority. We ate that entire cake too.
Yeah, I believe it.
It was good.
I believe it. Good for you. All right, let's talk about our teams. Let's kind of go team by team here. And we'll end with the Eagles because I do want to talk about the NFL a little bit. I think they've been a little arrogant in their response to the pandemic in saying, "Oh no, we're playing. Oh no, we're doing this. Oh no, we're doing that." And then, okay, the Hall of Fame games got canceled. Okay, we've cut 2 preseason games. So we'll talk about them towards the end. But let's start with the Philadelphia Flyers. The NHL, after being the first team to kind of put a restart plan into motion, has gotten super quiet.
Yeah.
I mean,
so weird.
Like, there's really nothing going on. The last thing we had heard, the Flyers had a first round bye. And that was all we kind of knew. And now there's been no talk. You've been hearing some players have tested positive. Someone brought up the other day, and Jess, you might know this better than me, because like I said, I've kind of distanced myself a little bit from the sports world too. Why wouldn't they just go play in their native land of Canada?
Well, I think that there's a chance that the hub cities do end up being either Edmonton or Toronto.
Okay.
But that's the other thing. They hadn't selected a hub city yet. Like, they were looking at Vegas. They were looking at a couple of other places. But I think there's a really good chance that it does end up being in Canada. But I think that's going to also depend on...
Well, guess what? You just said that, and literally on ESPN, Las Vegas is no longer a front runner for a hub city. They're looking at Canada. It seems like they solely... But, like, they were supposed to start, like, the end of this month, and you just haven't heard anything, which leads me to get concerned about a hockey restart at this point.
Yeah. So I think they're still moving forward in all of their phases for the specific teams individually. Like, all the teams are still moving forward and doing what they're doing and things like that, but they haven't selected a spot to where... So, like, I feel like they're all just getting ready to play the end of the month, and then eventually they'll tell them where they need to be, and they'll go be there, and it'll be fine.
Which is a typical hockey thing. Those guys are the, like, most least diva athletes that we have in professional sports. Like, they just kind of go with the flow, and they'll go out there and they'll do their thing. And so if hockey comes back, which we're hoping it does, the Philadelphia Flyers, this is the one team where I look at the restart and say, does it actually hurt the Flyers? Because they were rolling. I mean, they were really rolling. They had found a chemistry, a confidence. And when you kind of stop like that and then are forced to restart, everybody's back at square one.
Right.
You have a young goaltender, but does that actually hurt a Carter Hart, who was really starting to get confidence going and experience going? I think this team has a chance, but I do think that the Flyers' chances are low for this year. I think that their future is without a doubt bright. But this restart, I think, is going to end up hurting them in the long run, even with a first-round bye. I think they might have to play the Capitals in the second round, or not the Capitals. It was the Penguins. It might be the Penguins that they have to play. I forget who the winner of Penguins, and I can't even remember who it was. So I don't know. How about you? What do you?
The Lightning.
It's
the Lightning.
The Lightning. Yeah. Which, where are you with the Flyers? Do you have good feelings, bad feelings? I know you're always an optimist, but
always.
But I would like to hear some feelings of negativity, if you may.
So I think in terms, like, they can't drop any further than they are, like, right now. So they can't. So they'll do their round robin for the seeding with the Bruins, the Lightning, and the Capitals, and they'll figure out kind of where they end up there. I think I'm hopeful that will be enough for them to just kind of be like, okay, here's where we were. Obviously, this sucks for them in terms of where their momentum was. I agree. If there's one team that this is going to hurt, it will be the Flyers, which sucks because they were doing so well, and I think they really had a serious shot at going far. So you're right. I am always optimistic. Training camps are supposed to open next week. Like, official training camps are supposed to open next week sometime. The tentative date was July 10th. So we'll see. But I think that goes for anybody. Like, any team that was rolling and doing really well, it's going to set everything back to zero. So it's just a matter of can they keep that chemistry going through the training camp, and can they get it back going into wherever they go.
Yeah, I agree. I tell you what, it'll be fun. I think we'll all be invested in the Flyers, even with all this other stuff going on, because they really were starting to capture the Philadelphia fandom again prior to the stoppage. So I think we'll be back in for that. I think, especially when you talk about the fact that we haven't had sports for so long, it doesn't matter who's playing, when they're playing, we're going to be watching. So let's move into the other sport that had a stoppage, and we've kind of talked a good amount about it in the 76ers. And I think we are both in agreement that this stoppage and restart is going to benefit them. Charles Barkley said it the other day. It may have benefited them more than any team in the NBA. And I think that they are a team that you don't want to have to play in the playoffs, because I think they could be a tough out. And it lends to the question. So if they're a tough out, if things go well, do we see status quo coming back next year? Do we see Al Horford and Josh Richardson and Brett Brown all back next year? Or if, say, they make the Eastern Conference Finals and lose, is Brett Brown gone? Do they look to move an Al Horford in that contract, realizing it may not fit? I'm intrigued. Like, it's a really weird situation with them. Obviously, I want them to win, but there is that part of me that says, do we just need a change up here with the 76ers?
But if they win, who cares?
It's a good point. I mean, but is it how sustained?
It's that simple to me. That's like any team ever. It's like if they win, like who really gives a crap? It's like the 97-98 Bulls. It's like, why would you blow it up if they win?
Right.
Like, if they win, like.
And it's a great point. And I guess the other side of that is how long can they be a sustained winner with this group? Basically, what I'm saying is that it's great for the win, but even if you win, do you have to sit back and say, okay, we won, but do we need to make changes because in an 82-game season without a stoppage, are we still built to win in that environment? And it may be as simple as, do we still need to move on from Brett Brown? I don't know. I don't know how that plays.
But I also think that, exactly what Michael Jordan was saying in that documentary, it's like, well, so that's a different situation, right? Because they had just won 2 and they're about to win another one. And it's like, why not just let them keep defending it until they can't? Like, you don't have to wait for it to like totally explode, but like it's very similar to essentially kind of, what the Warriors did, what the Cavs did. It's like, until you can't hang on anymore, then blow it up. Like, I just don't think if they win, why would you blow it up? I get it that it's a different situation, and it's definitely a conversation that needs to be had. Can they sustain an 82-game season? Are they just built for the playoffs? So should we have let it go anyway? What happens if there's another injury? Like if the season didn't stop and they go to the playoffs and Ben's not there to be able to play, what? But that's another thing. It's like we could have been having the same conversation if the regular season went on as normal, playoffs went on as normal. There's no Ben Simmons. They lose in the first round. Then it's like, well, is that different if Ben's there to play?
Right.
Is that different if your number 1 overall pick a couple of years ago, your all-star without a jump shot, who should be the defensive player of the year, you look at that and you're like, how much does that change that game? If, you don't have Ben and you play the Celtics in the first round and Kemba averages 40 points a game and, you lose in 5, for a fact you put Ben Simmons in that game, Kemba's not averaging 40 in that series. You know what I mean? So it's how much does that change the game? And there's always going to be that question. It's never going to be a cut and dry, because there's always going to be well, what if this happened? Well, what if this happened? Well, what if this happened? It's if they come back to the restart and Brett Brown does keep Al Horford on the bench, puts Shake Milton in that starting lineup, they move things around, the right decisions are made, and they still just get outplayed in the Eastern Conference Finals, then what?
Right.
Really, Brett Brown that needs to go? Maybe. Do you move on from Al Horford? Maybe.
I'm just really excited to see Blippy shoot threes.
Yeah.
Ryan Brokoff. I don't know if you saw my pictures yesterday. You probably
I did.
Who the hell Blippy is. No one really does unless you have children. But it is uncanny, the resemblance between Ryan Brokoff and Blippy. It's frightening.
Yeah, but it's another thing. Without the restart, does he get added? Probably not.
No, probably not. And
we'll see what he does.
So if we had to say a number one question for this team going into the restart, or major questions. I mean, there's a lot of the normal ones out there. For me, I want to know: are they as good as the Milwaukee Bucks, or are the Milwaukee Bucks just from the way the Milwaukee Bucks are built? When you talk about obviously Giannis being Giannis, but Chris Middleton, being a problem for a lot of teams. The depth on Milwaukee is really, really good. I mean, their bench has been really good. They added guys that I think a lot of us would have liked to have seen the Sixers maybe put on their bench going forward. Because the one issue we've had is the Sixers bench has kind of been very up and down. We did not get the performance from a Mike Scott, I think, this year that we had hoped for. Matisse Thybulle has been very good at times, but I think the restart helps him because I think Matisse hit a bit of a rookie wall, and you kind of saw it with the shooting just became less and less positive. It was more, he was missing a lot more. But a guy like Shake Milton came along. Furkan Korkmaz was great at home, was woeful on the road. Where is he on a neutral court? It's a question to be asked.
Stepping out of bounds 9 times a game. Probably not knowing where the freaking lines are.
Yeah, like where you sit today, if the Sixers were to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and play the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals, if it works out where they go in as the 6th seed, they beat the Celtics, then I don't know, is the Heat or the Raptors in second place right now? I don't even know.
I have no idea. I can't remember.
It's the Raptors. Say they beat the Raptors and they get the Milwaukee Bucks in a 7-game series in the Eastern Conference Finals. Do you think the Sixers are the better team?
Yes. The Raptors are in the 2 seed right now.
Okay. The Raptors are the 2 seed. The Celtics are the 3 seed. Heat are the 4.
Yes. Pacers, Sixers.
See, that's the other question I asked. Did the Sixers want to get to the 5 seed? Right? Like they don't need to worry about a top 4 seed because there's no home court advantage anymore, right? That's out. You're playing in a bubble. If you get to the 5 seed, you're playing a Heat team who has given you some trouble this year. And then your second round opponent would have to be the Milwaukee Bucks in the second round. Like, are you set up better to be the 6th seed, play the Celtics, who you've done very well against this year, play a Kawhi-less Raptors, and also in the back of your mind know these are the sons of you-know-what that knocked us out last year, and then not have to maybe avoid a Miami altogether and not have to face a Milwaukee till the Eastern Conference Finals.
Hold on. How many times did the Sixers end up playing the Raptors?
I don't think do they play them again during this 8-game stretch? Because I don't think they do. I think they played the Raptors 3 times, maybe 1 and 2 against the Raptors.
2.
Yeah.
3. Yeah. So they played them again.
They do play them again.
They played them again. They only played them 3 times. Where did that go? Okay, so they lost to them twice. But the one was like that weird game where they lost by 1 or like, remember they were like up 1. Something weird happened.
The one game they lost to them was Embiid scored 0 points. That was against Toronto when Embiid had his no point.
No points, and then Josh Richardson got hurt.
Yeah, my whole point is actually the better road to the Eastern Conference Finals for the Sixers from the 6th seed. No, I'm not saying they should tank and lose all the games, but what I'm saying is when you look at it, do they match up better with, say, a Celtics Raptors in rounds 1 and 2 than a Heat Bucks in rounds 1 and 2? I say yes.
I would say yes.
Right?
I would say yes. I would love to watch them just barrel through the Celtics. That would make my heart happy.
Yeah,
in so many ways. That'd be so much fun. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and listen, I'm not saying
Al Horford goes off one game for like 30.
I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying that the Heat are better because Jimmy Butler's there, but they struggle with the Heat, right? The Heat are a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, and the Sixers do struggle with those teams quite a bit. And they have Bam Adebayo, who is a guy that I'm not saying can shut down Joel Embiid, but can defend Joel Embiid. Boston doesn't have a guy that can stop Joel Embiid. Toronto, maybe. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I look at, like, the Heat are a bad matchup from the standpoint that Jimmy Butler can still defend. And Bam Adebayo, it can play at a different level of playing field against Joel Embiid than, say, whoever the Celtics are going to throw at him, whether it's Theus or who else are the Celtics throwing at him? I don't even know. So I would almost
who plays for the Celtics these days.
Who the hell knows? I would like to see that. Look, I'd like to see the Sixers win these 8 games.
Toss Taco in there.
Oh my God, these 8 games are not really, and because the Sixers can't drop, they can't go any lower than the 6th seed from where they are in the standings. These games are to get back to playing together, get acclimated. Hopefully, you at the very least go 500 in these games, and then you go after it. You know, and I think that's how every team should be approaching this, outside of teams that are literally playing for a chance to be in the NBA playoffs. They have to go after this thing. So, like, yeah, the Sixers by record might have one of the easiest roads, but they're also going to be playing a lot of the teams whose playoff lives depend on these 8 games. So you have to take that into consideration when it comes to wins and losses in this format, in this 8-game format.
Yeah. So you think about it. You know, the couple teams in the Eastern Conference that you know, it depends on it. It's the Wizards, the Magic, and then the Nets. They're the 3 that are fighting for that 7, 8, and you know, and one of them.
Correct?
What? No, they don't play the Nets.
Brooklyn. They don't play Brooklyn. Yeah.
So, but the other part of that is, now, where does Portland fall in the Western Conference?
I will look that up as we're talking. Could you believe that the Sixers still have to play the Orlando Magic in Orlando? It's like the worst thing ever.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so all right. So here's what I'll tell you. So the Sixers, so they play the Pacers, they're good to go. But then they play the San Antonio Spurs, who are fighting for their life.
Who really don't have much of a chance, if you ask me. But
right, Washington, they are the Magic. They're fighting for their life. The Phoenix Suns are fighting for their life, and then they play the Raptors and the Rockets. So they only have 3 of their 8 games against teams that don't have that all or nothing mentality.
Right. And that means that, like, I'd almost rather play those top level teams who are really playing this like a preseason and just getting themselves back acclimated to playing.
Right. So
our fan base,
you think Spurs, Wizards, Magic, Blazers, Suns, you know, they're all back to back. So all 5 of those teams are teams that are going to give you everything they have. And it's also, you know, some teams that have given you problems. Now, the Spurs have not given you any sort of problems. As you said, they're pretty much dead in the water. The Wizards, you know, Bradley Beal can give you some problems. Now, thankfully, we have Ben Simmons. Bertans also hasn't decided if he's playing or not yet. So we don't know if they don't have him. I don't give them much of a chance, and he's the only one who's given us a problem this year anyway either. I don't know what's wrong with the Sixers when they play the Orlando Magic. I don't know what it is. Evan Fournier just plays like he's Steph Curry, and I don't understand it.
Disgusting.
And then, as long as you have Furkan Korkmaz hitting threes against Portland, you're fine.
Yeah.
But that game was just on the other day, actually. We watched some of that game.
The Suns are, so let me tell you this. The Suns are 6 games out of a playoff spot with 8 games to play. The Spurs are 5 games out with 8 games to play. Both of them
by the time they get to the Suns, they'll be done. It won't matter. So that's probably the only saving grace there, because didn't the Suns hand them their first loss this year? They were undefeated until they played the Suns.
Yeah, the Suns have owned them. Brett Brown's coaching tree likes to beat him when they play against him. When you look at the Hawks and you look at the Suns, these guys really like to beat Brett Brown.
I think it.
Tough out because of Devin Booker. Devin Booker is a player. He's a tough guy to play against.
That's what I'm saying. He's one of the guys that's in my top 10 for sure. If he doesn't play at the top level of his game,
Zaire Smith is not going to play in Orlando.
Shocking. That's how you know the Sixers are officially back. There's injury reports and people hurt, and nothing's happened in months.
How do you have a bone bruise on your knee, Zaire? This isn't even the poppy seed incident.
It was peanuts.
Whatever it was.
That's a very serious thing. They almost killed him.
I know, but my point is, he got a bone bruise when he's not playing?
Yeah, I don't really know. But yeah, I think the Sixers definitely kind of drew the short straw when it comes to who they're playing in. Now, they are playing a lot of sub-500 teams, but, as we've talked about in the past, they seem to struggle the most against sub-500 teams.
I know.
I mean, the Pacers have also given them a hard time. However, I think they only played the Pacers once with both Ben and Joel, and that was when Ben had 4 steals and 8 points in 90 seconds to seal that win.
Yeah, and Oladipo is questionable for the restart because of his injury. Look, they have Malcolm Brogdon, who look, hindsight's 2020. I would have rather seen the Sixers spend money on a guy like Malcolm Brogdon than a guy like Al Horford, but that's neither here nor there.
He also tested positive for coronavirus, so he's still up in the air as well.
He's up in the air. But I have a feeling he'll probably end up playing, I would think. Yeah. So,
good news for the Sixers, though. Nobody tested positive on the Sixers. That was good.
Did they hire a new training staff during this pandemic?
I did see somebody that tweeted this made me laugh so hard, and I felt terrible about laughing. But the tweet said something like, "No Sixers tested positive for coronavirus. Joke's on them, though. Their stupid medical staff gave them pregnancy tests instead of coronavirus tests." And I was like, that's just so wrong. But there were 3 people in the organization that did test positive.
Yes.
Back when.
I think it's safe to say we are higher on the Sixers right now. I think that we have good feelings about the Sixers going forward.
I have very good feelings about the Sixers. I'm very excited.
Yes. All right.
I'm very excited to steal Joe's Ben Simmons jersey on Wednesday and wear it all day on my 25th birthday. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, happy birthday to you on Wednesday.
Thank you. But that's my plan.
You have lived a quarter life now. Congratulations.
Halfway to 50.
All right, real quick, because I think me and you had talked. We want to keep these shows as condensed as we can so that people actually stay tuned in. Phillies. What do you feel for the Phillies in a 60-game season?
I think it allows for less of the up and down, and I think that goes for any baseball team. It allows for less of that up and down that comes with the season. I think there's a sense of urgency from the beginning, and I think that no matter what, they also need to keep in mind, regardless of the fact that this is a weird year, they need to keep in mind the fact of who they have under contract, the fact that, yes, everyone is going to be a year older next season when, hopefully things are back to normal. And they, regardless, they still have a really good offensive lineup and they need to use it to their advantage. Now, their short straw is going to be, they play 40 games against the winners of the division from last year, the World Series champions, the Marlins, who they can't seem to beat, and the Mets, who always, provide a little competition. But then they're also going to be playing the AL East, which is the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Baltimore Orioles, and the Tampa Bay Rays. So,
yeah. Yankees and Red Sox. Lots of Yankees and Red Sox. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Can't wait to play the Yankees and Red Sox over and over and over again. Very excited. But so it'll be interesting, and I think it definitely provides more of a challenge for somebody like Joe Girardi. But I think with the idea that there is more of an urgency from the beginning, I think that will benefit the Phillies, because I'm hopeful that there won't be a 16-2 loss and then winning on a bottom of the ninth Bryce Harper double walk off. I'm hopeful that it won't be going like that as much. Obviously, still with a lot of games, you're gonna lose games you should have won. You're gonna win games you should have lost. It's gonna happen. But I think that in terms of it's that playoff mindset almost from the beginning, especially for a season that's what is it? It's like a third of a regular season. So I think that does benefit the Phillies in a way, and I'm excited to see how it's handled and how it works out with somebody like Joe Girardi leading the way.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. I think at the end of the day, the team will fall a little bit short of the playoffs from the standpoint of pitching. I just don't think I didn't think the pitching was there for 162 games. I actually think by only having 60 games, you don't even give the pitchers or the team an ability to improve that. I know that there's still a trade deadline and everything, but I do think I think that they're going to be there in the end. I don't think there's going to be something where the last 20 games don't matter. I think they're going to be there in the end. Could they squeak a wild card spot? Yes. I don't think they'll win the division. I just think the pitching is going to hurt them. And as you said, when you're talking about having to play the Nationals and the Yankees and the Braves as much as you're going to have to play them, it's going to be a tough spot. It's going to be a really, really, really tough spot for them. But it's going to be fun for us to watch.
Yeah, but I also think if they are successful, that shows us a lot. That's way more impressive than anything.
Oh, yeah.
If they have a lot of success and they somehow wind up winning the division or something, I think that's more impressive than anything, given playing the Braves, the Nationals, the Yankees, the Red Sox, playing all those teams and being successful. I think regardless of it just being 60 games, that's way more impressive than anything.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And hopefully it's a really fun fall for us in Philadelphia. So let's get to the team that actually plays in the fall every year, the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's really not a question about what we think the Eagles are going to do right now, because I think that we're still a little far away from that. It's more so, is the NFL going to start on time? And are they really going to try and put people back in the stands?
I just think the NFL has been quiet to this point because it's still far enough away where we don't know where we're going to be come September. However, training camps are supposed to start in a couple weeks. Yeah. And if I'm a player in Arizona or Florida or any of these, I don't feel good about going to camp. And it's, same thing as to what I was talking about before. It's going to have to be one of those things where, you're committed to being pretty isolated, and you're going to have to make that decision, and it's not going to be a giant free-for-all. But again, it's going to have to be your decision to make, and that's going to have to be an option that you can opt out of it. I think the NBA has done a good job. If you don't feel comfortable or if this is not what you want, fine.
Right.
But I think that's, something that is going to be an issue, because think about how many people are on a football team to start. And then you add in, all the extra coaches, the staff, the person, everybody else. I think that there has to be some sort of break that makes this a viable option, because they were talking about trying to insert something into their face masks that would essentially like a regular mask that would help somehow. I mean, they're going to have to do something because, I mean, you get that in a football team, like you can't.
Yeah.
I mean,
football's such a different animal.
It really is.
Such a different animal, and that's the scary part. You're not going to have a vaccine by September. Your hope has got to be that as a country, not just as specific states, but as a country, we begin a level off period, which, as we were talking before the show, just because of the actions of so many people, I don't know if it's possible because people are arrogant enough to believe they don't have to do the things that scientists and doctors who have spent their whole lives studying disease are telling you to do, but they don't know things. When you have a lieutenant governor in Texas come out and say he doesn't trust a doctor who has worked on more pandemics and issues with disease, he says he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's fearful. And that's why I don't know if we can really get through this until the vaccine comes out and people get the vaccine, because people are just too arrogant. But, I hope football comes back, but I don't need them to put fans in the stands. I just don't need, I get it, but I think that's a risk you don't, like, I want sports back, but they don't need to take unnecessary or unwarranted risks. That's my key right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I'm not even at the point where I'm like forming an opinion on fans in the stands yet, because I'm just trying to form an opinion on how on earth the NFL is going to navigate this with their players alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's up. It's who the heck knows?
I know.
And you've got people like Tom Brady who's just ignoring, that's disappointing to see. Somebody who is as prominent in the league as Tom Brady, who's just ignoring these things that could potentially just be hurting his season. And at the end of the day, he's one of the people who should be like, hey, I don't got a lot of years left. Right. Let's all do this the right way so we can play.
Well,
Tom.
Well, Tom's decisions and choices, you've seen publicly when it comes to all this stuff, have never necessarily been what I would call the best, but it is what it is. So we'll see. Look, sports hopefully are coming, which means you will be getting more of the madness. We are coming back. Jess is bringing Babes on Broad back for year 2. They've kicked it off very well. We kicked off Party on Broad's first live stream last night, and I called it the Carson Wentz Show, Jess, which you would have loved, because most of us were just on the Carson Wentz bandwagon on the show. It was a good time. And so a lot of stuff coming. You'll be able to catch us live streaming soon. Make sure you're paying attention at Run This Town with an E13 and at Philly_Madness. Get over to thepaintedlines.com. Get over to the Painted Lines YouTube channel. Jess, you seem like you've frozen. Oh, you're back. You were frozen in the seat. Okay. Make sure this out on there. Oh, now you froze again. This is fun. This is a good time for you to freeze, though, because we are ending. So that's a positive. We made it through. So, Jess, thank you for – I don't know who Jess is, but Jess, thank you for joining us. As always, we've enjoyed our time with you. We're back now. Stay tuned to social media for all of our editions. And as always, embrace the madness and have a great week.